Get ready to challenge what you thought you knew. Don't miss an episode of the truth within the Bible. Your journey to enlightenment starts now.
Welcome back, my friends. Today we cover Amos Chapter 2. Amos was a minor prophet with a major message. Before we get into today's chapter, let's get our quick recap of the last video covering Chapter 1. Chapter 1 was full of judgment oracles and builds tension with judgments on Israel's enemies for cruelty and injustice, setting up God's focus on his own people in Chapter 2. God's justice is impartial and coming swiftly. The oracles covered prophecy for Damascus, Gaza, Tyre, Edom, and Ammon. You can find them all in the last video. So without further ado, let's continue the prophecy with chapter 2, verse 1.
Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime.
Because why? Because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. Verse 2.
But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kerioth. And Moab shall die with tumult, with shouting, and with the sound of the trumpet.
The sound of the trumpet. What trumpet is that? The last trumpet. Now you may not realize it, but we just read history that is as near as 1918, a little over 100 years ago. And again, this is being written about 3,000 years ago. Who was the last king of Edom, or today's Russia? Nicholas II was the last Tsar of Russia. And what happened to him? Nicholas II and his family were executed by Bolshevik revolutionaries on July 17, 1918, in Yekaterinburg. From Yakov Yurovsky's, the execution squad leader, Yakov said, "The bodies were put in the hole, doused with sulfuric acid, scattered over it with branches and lime, put boards on top, and drove over it several times. No traces of the hole remained. They murdered every last one of the family members, except possibly one daughter, which was never found nor confirmed." But only about 30 years ago or so, and that's not very long ago, is when we discovered all the bones that had been buried in lime. You know what lime does to people. There was enough left in the bones to get DNA samples to document whose they were. These innocent people were butchered and buried in lime, just as this verse said, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. And there you have God's prophecy being fulfilled and bringing this very time up toward the last trump. Our Father does not leave us wanting when you pay attention to his word. Again, how fascinating that even the ingredient in which they were buried, down to the lime, would come forth in this prophecy. And it isn't difficult to know who the last king of Edom was. Since communism took over in 1918, they've never had another king. They've had dictators, but no czars. This is one of those things that lets you know we're moving into that consummation of the end of this age. Since the year of our Lord 1948, when the fig was put in place, the shoot was set out, that the final generation began, and we're whittling on it. That trump will sound sooner than you think. Verse 3.
And I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and will slay all the princes thereof with him, saith the Lord.
Verse 4.
Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Judah, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have despised the law of the Lord, and have not kept his commandments, and their lies caused them to err, after the which their fathers have walked.
They walked in that idolatry. Verse 5.
But I will send a fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem.
Verse 6.
Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they sold the righteous for silver, and the poor for a pair of shoes.
And a pair of shoes at this time was just as a sole with a strap on it. That means selling them into slavery. Verse 7.
That pant after the dust of the earth on the head of the poor, and turn aside the way of the meek, And a man and his father will go in unto the same maid to profane my holy name.
This is translated wrongly in a sense. What it says is, they step on the heads of my people and push them right down into the very dirt. And these temple girls, yes, religious prostitutes, they call it religion in this new belief they have, and a father and a son will both go in to a temple girl, and that was called religious. But that was the religion of that time, and it was certainly not what God's law said. Quite the contrary, verse 8.
And they lay themselves down upon clothes laid to pledge by every altar, and they drink the wine of the condemned in the house of their God.
Wine purchased or funded with money from unjust fines or penalties imposed on innocent or poor people. The condemned here are the victims of corrupt judgments. They drink this tainted wine during idolatrous feasts or banquets in the house of their God. Verse 9.
Yet destroyed I the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath.
They were giants. These were the leftover and Nephilim fallen angels. He is saying, I took the Gaber, or giants, away, both the first and second influx. Verse 10.
Also I brought you up from the land of Egypt, and led you 40 years through the wilderness, to possess the land of the Amorite.
Verse 11.
And I raised up of your sons for prophets, and of your young men for Nazarites. Is it not even thus, O ye children of Israel, saith the Lord?
A Nazarite is a man or woman who voluntarily takes a special vow of separation or consecration to the Lord. It's more about holiness and separation from worldly things. During this oath period, they will not take a razor to their head, no shave or haircut, and they also will not take a drink of wine, nor can they approach the dead during that period. Verse 12.
But ye gave the Nazarites wine to drink, and commanded the prophets, saying, Prophesy not.
They would not listen to God's prophets he sent, and they forced wine to the lips of the Nazarites. God is upset. Verse 13.
Behold, I am pressed under you, as a cart is pressed that is full of sheaves.
Now you should know by reading that there is something badly wrong with that translation. God doesn't get pressed under anything. The real translation is, God is saying, I'm going to load your wagon until you can't even pull it. I'm going to load it down so much with your troubles that you're hardly going to be able to move it. Verse 14.
Therefore the flight shall perish from the swift, and the strong shall not strengthen his force, neither shall the mighty deliver himself.
There is no winning here. You cannot beat God. Verse 15.
Neither shall he stand that handleth the bow, and he that is swift of foot shall not deliver himself, neither shall he that rideth the horse deliver himself.
Horse here really means a war horse. I mean fast. But you can't escape the hand of God. Verse 16 to finish the chapter.
And he that is courageous among the mighty shall flee away naked in that day, saith the Lord.
In other words, they're not going to have anything left. God's going to take it all away from them. That ends our chapter for today. But join us on the next video to continue the prophecy of Amos with chapter 3. Until then, stay strong, my friends.